In the forgotten village of Eldermore, at the end of a cobbled street, stood an old lantern shop. Its silent owner, Elias, was said to craft lanterns that never extinguished, glowing with an eerie blue light. But the villagers stayed away not out of fear, but because those who took one of his lanterns were never the same again. One evening, a curious traveler named Rowan arrived in Eldermore. Ignoring the villagers' warnings, he stepped into the lantern shop without a word. Elias handed him a lantern and pointed toward the dark forest beyond the village. "Follow the whispers," he finally spoke, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves. Holding the flickering lantern in his hand, Rowan stepped into the forest. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air thickened heavy and dense. The trees whispered his name in broken, breathy voices. Shadows moved where none should have been. Then he saw them vague, wavering figures like candle flames. Not ghosts, they were the memories of those who had entered the forest before him and never returned. The lantern in his hand pulsed as if alive, illuminating forgotten paths and secrets buried beneath ancient roots. Following the whispers, he reached a clearing where a massive, gnarled tree stood. At its base was a small wooden door, just large enough for a person to crawl through. The lantern burned brighter, revealing an inscription above the door: "To know the past is to lose the present." Rowan hesitated. The whispers became urgent, pleading. His hand trembled on the door's handle. If he entered, he would uncover the truth behind the lanterns, but at what cost? No one knows what he chose. The next morning, Elias placed a new lantern on his shop's shelf, its eerie blue glow joining the others. And deep in the forest, a new whisper joined the chorus. Continuation. Rowan's voice did not echo in the night. No one knew whether he had opened the door, but something in the forest had changed. The villagers whispered of a pale blue light rising into the sky at dawn. Elias sat silently in his shop as always, but his eyes seemed deeper that day. That evening, a new whisper floated through the streets of Eldermore. Rowan's voice. Yet it was wrong, distorted, distant, and hollow. Those who walked near the forest saw shadows shifting in the lantern's flickering glow. Some claimed to glimpse Rowan's silhouette among the trees, only for it to vanish in an instant. But the most terrifying change was that the whispers no longer stayed in the forest. They had begun to seep into the village itself. One night, a young girl named Alara disappeared. The last thing she had said was that she had heard Rowan's call. "Follow me," she had whispered. "It is time to learn the truth." After Alara vanished, fear gripped the village. At night, doors were locked tight, and prayers were whispered to drown out the voices. Yet some swore that the lantern's glow seeped into their walls, and Rowan's echoes rang inside their heads. One morning, Elias opened his shop door to find Alara standing there, trembling. But this was not the girl they had known. Her eyes shimmered with the same blue light as the lanterns, and her voice was layered, as though many whispers spoke at once. "I opened the door," she said, her voice both young and ancient. "And now more doors must open." From that day forward, Eldermore was no longer plagued by whispers alone. And Elias' shelves grew more crowded, a new lantern appearing each day. But one night, as Elias prepared to close his shop, he noticed something. One of the lanterns flickered. Differently from the rest, its blue glow rippled as if something inside was trying to wake. He approached carefully, pressing his fingers against the glass. A voice echoed from within. "I am not lost." Elias stepped back, his face showing fear for the first time. The lantern's light intensified, and within the glass, Rowan's face took shape. But this was not the Rowan Elias had known. His eyes were empty. His lips moved without sound. "Elias, bring me back." Closed the door. But Elias knew the door could no longer be closed alone. And the whispers had never been louder. Eldermore was no longer just a village. It was the threshold of something growing in the darkness, and for the first time, Elias listened to the whispers. The next morning, Elias did not open his shop. A few brave men forced the door open, only to find the shop empty. The shelves were bare. No lanterns, no Elias, but in the center of the room, the floor was scorched with strange, spiraling marks. And in the far corner, 3 words were carved into the stone: "The door is still